I am live, I think. Am I live? Yes, I'm live. Hello, everyone. How's it going? I don't think anyone is actually here yet, but to anyone that arrives late, hello. Today, I thought we'd have a laugh and look at some of the rules, sort of the things people say. You're not a Bitcoiner if X, Y, Z, because we do have a lot of shared understandings. Because I personally think that most of the positions that Bitcoiners sort of seem to collectively take and be apparently toxic about are actually reasonable, because they're usually just rejections of ridiculous orthodoxies that most people subscribe to, and rejecting those in favor of common sense is actually it's pretty hard to attack. So I think that's why Bitcoiners arrive at a lot of these controversial conclusions, and people go, oh my god, that's so ridiculous. But there's a reason Bitcoiners kind of converge on a lot of ideas at the same time, and I went into this a lot in my my rant video on toxic maximalism. But here, let's go over some of the things that we do believe. So yeah, number one, I've had that on screen the whole time. Number one, you're not a Bitcoiner if you haven't used Lightning. That's a funny one, because I can already think of a major exception. And the most major exception to that would be the guy who arguably is the only reason we even have Lightning, and that's Luke Jr. So I can already think of a major exception to that one. You might just not have use for it. If you're using Bitcoin as a store of value and you're just stacking every now and again, which actually is what most people are doing, you've got no reason to use Lightning. So I think I don't agree with that one. I don't think it's true. I think maybe most Bitcoiners are excited about Lightning because it's amazing, but it's still very early on. And unless you're using Bitcoin as a medium of exchange in a daily capacity, or at least fairly often, you probably can get away with not using it at all, especially at the moment, because blocks are pretty much empty at the moment. Not empty, but I should say there's enough space for what people are doing right now. That's not the same thing as empty. If Bitcoin's blocks are all empty, that's bad. Then no one's doing transactions anymore, and that's not good. I always remember that thing Satoshi said, which is, I'm sure that in 10 years we'll either have a very high transaction volume or none at all. So I don't want to go to the medium place where there's just a few, and that I always want the amount of transactions there are to be trending upwards. And that's the case, but it's just that it's basically impossible to gauge now, because Lightning is designed to obscure things and do as many transactions as possible in the most efficient way, which means you can actually have thousands of transactions hiding inside what looks like one transaction. So when people talk about blockchains and all that and say there's been, this blockchain can do that many transactions, Bitcoin can only do this, and you're like, yeah, but that you're not really looking at the right metrics, because a Bitcoin transaction is even if it's just a batch transaction, it can be a lot of money moving from a lot of different places to a lot of different places. That's the way it works. So, yeah, I don't know about this one. I think you should be excited about Lightning if you're a Bitcoiner. I know some Bitcoiners as well that are like, oh, Lightning is a bit overhyped, and I don't think it's going to work out the way we hope it will. And that's a reasonable take too. I disagree with it, but it's I think that's in the room for respectful disagreement. So this one, I think you can totally be a Bitcoiner and have not used Lightning. So I think I disagree with this one. What's the next one? If you don't take custody of your BTC, wait a minute, I need to shrink that down a bit. Here we go. Oops. Sorry, I'm new to having text on the screen. Some of you might have noticed. You're not a Bitcoiner if you don't take custody of your Bitcoin. Yeah, I'm standing by this one. You're not a Bitcoiner if you don't own any Bitcoin. And when I say own Bitcoin, I don't mean someone else owns it on your behalf. That is not Bitcoining. And if your intention is to do this and you're on the path to learn how to do it securely, yeah, you can be a Bitcoiner. But if you have no interest in doing it, if all you've done is buy some shares in GBTC or QBTC or something like that, that doesn't count, in my opinion. You're not yet a Bitcoiner. And if you feel slightly annoyed and irked by that, you should, and this sentiment should provoke you into becoming motivated into going, that's it, I need to take, they are right, the Bitcoin maxis are right, I am not a Bitcoiner because I don't have coins sitting at addresses I control. They're under the control of a third party. That is arguably the most important thing about what Bitcoin offers to human beings. It's the ability to own an unconfiscatable asset, and it's not unconfiscatable if it's in someone else's custody. You're losing the main benefit of Bitcoin, in my opinion. It's not to hold an inflation-proof asset and use it as an inflation hedge, but for someone else to take care of all of the custodian, that's just not the way it works. You can't call yourself a Bitcoiner if you don't take custody of your Bitcoin. You get some, maybe there's exceptions, like if you're saying, okay, my son takes care of all that for me because I'm not capable of it. That's all right. I can let you go with that one. But if it's sitting in Binance or it's sitting in Barry Silbert's GBTC or something like that, no way. I'm not having it. Thanks for joining, you guys. You're excited for it, but LN is still a few years ahead of when it's going to be necessary, which is good as it's being built and perfected now ahead of time. Exactly, Crypto. That's why I said... like, even though I don't agree with the sentiment anyway, I don't think you can write people off because they haven't used Lightning. But if you're just excited about Lightning, then that's good, because it's not really necessary at the moment. You can still just use the main chain, and Lightning has bugs, and every time you install anything Lightning related, you get warnings everywhere saying, hey, this is still experimental software, you might lose all your money. You're not going to, unless usually if you lose anything on Lightning, it's user error. I haven't heard of anything for a long time where there's actually been something wrong with either LND or C Lightning or one of the implementations where people have lost Bitcoin through no fault of their own. I've never heard of that happening. So it's still safe to use, but everyone's covering their ass and saying be careful with it. But the reason I think people even use it at this early stage is because it's specifically for small amounts, right? So even if you do lose, 10 or 100,000 sats or something, it's not the end of the world for most people that are playing around with it anyway. So, and you shouldn't really be using Lightning. Like, you don't want to send 3 Bitcoins to someone on the Lightning network. There's just no reason to do that. There could be in 20 years or something, but there totally isn't now. So excitement is good about Lightning, and encouragement and testing and all that stuff and getting it ready is great. And the reason we got going on it so early and we got pushing with stuff like this is so that now that we've got countries like El Salvador adopting it, those countries needed to adopt Bitcoin using Lightning straight away. They needed to see the whole thing as Bitcoin is the Bitcoin protocol and the Lightning Network protocol. They needed to see it that way, because we couldn't have a country learning Bitcoin and then learning Lightning after. It needed to be developed to the point it is now for it to be realistic for a country like El Salvador to use it. And that we got in by the skin of our teeth on that one. And it looks like Chivo, well, it's pretty buggy anyway, but we've just about got it with Moon Wallet. We can just about have people just onboarding straight onto Lightning and not really feeling a confusing user experience. So anyway, back to the custody of the Bitcoin. I'm going to say, just as this is an encouraging one, though. It's not a one about shame or anything like that, or it's not done in a confrontational sense. But it is done to sort of jog people and say, if your Bitcoin aren't sitting under your control, you shouldn't feel like you own any Bitcoin, because you don't. You have some IOUs. That's not the same thing. Prem, what are you saying? Thanks for joining, by the way. Not to go off topic, but what about the inverse Lightning argument that it's not even BTC at all? Oh, but it's totally Bitcoin. It's Bitcoin that can only be spent under certain conditions. It's just essentially a multi-sig transaction where you don't know the other person, but the other person has the conditions in which they will agree to spend the coins in your multi-sig address, all laid out before you even make an agreement to send coins to the multi-sig address you generate in the first place. There's no risk in that regard. It's just it's just Bitcoin with a whole bunch of fancy stuff on top of it that allows you to use it in its own network where the transaction fees are almost basically nothing. So I wouldn't ever argue that it's not Bitcoin at all. It's totally Bitcoin. It's just Bitcoin on steroids when it comes to being in a monetary network, in a payment network, like with less regard paid to final settlement and more regard paid to, the speed and the cheapness of transactions. I think Bitcoin has been designed as a settlement layer, and the payment network element of it is an afterthought because mediums of exchange are trivial. I often go on about this, but Lightning is saying, okay, Bitcoin needs a really good way to be a medium of exchange as well. So they've taken what everyone else tries to do on the base layer and they've said, we're going to do 1 trillion times better than that, okay? And that's what Lightning does, and it makes a joke out of every single crypto that had as its reason for existence, we're a better payment network than Bitcoin because we can do more transactions per second. So Litecoin and Feathercoin and all these other shit coins, you know, Lightning just said, what are you all doing? Like, we're not going to take what Bitcoin can do with transactions per second and double it or multiply it by 8. We're going to multiply it by 1 million and divide the cost by 20,000 or something. Like, Lightning just basically said, this is, guys, you're doing it the wrong way. You don't need a blockchain. And I wish I had Giacomo's shirt that says Lightning doesn't need a blockchain. And someone complained about it because technically it's sitting on top of Bitcoin's blockchain, so it does need a blockchain. So he got another shirt that said Lightning don't need a blockchain, asterisk, and then the back of the shirt was a long explanation about why that's technically not true, but while it is sort of true at the same time as well. Lightning itself isn't a blockchain. So apologies if my connection's a bit unsteady. I don't know why it's being weird today. You were talking this out as someone at Bitcoin Brunch today. I concluded that Lightning is a use case denominated in BTC, but it is not BTC as such. I think Lightning's totally Bitcoin. I think it's just Bitcoin with a bunch of conditions on it, which is what multi-sig is. That's, to me, Prem, that's similar to saying multi-sig is not Bitcoin. Like, because that's all Lightning is. It's just multi-sig. It's just, it's scripts. Like, Bitcoin can only be, you know, if you pay to a script instead of just a straight up public key hash, if you pay to a script hash, you know, it's still Bitcoin. There's a bunch of conditions on which it can be spent, but it's still Bitcoin. And that's what Lightning is, in my opinion. Lightning is necessary before you know it. You're not a Bitcoiner if you're not able to onboard a merchant. Yeah, that's true. But again, what's the merchant? If the merchant's selling big, high, heavy ticket items, they can use Bitcoin for it. And, Bitcoin on the base layer. And they could even use Liquid too. It's a bit of an educational rabbit hole. All right. What about the transaction volume of BSV? Debate you. Oh, Yale. All right. I thought you were a real BSVer for a minute. I am not doing BSV tards anymore. I cannot fucking deal with it. Thanks for joining, by the way, Yale. No more BSV people. These people are nuts. Absolutely nuts. They don't understand the first thing about anything to do with this. I thought it was obvious. I didn't think there were any real BSVers. I eventually came to accept there are real big blockers. But people that believe Craig invented Bitcoin, I thought they were all paid to do what they do. And as you confirmed to me, Yale, some people are actually paid to go out there and shill BSV. But there are people that really actually think this. And they think... anyway. Hi, Joyce. Thank you for watching. You're not a Bitcoiner if you don't understand that blockchain doesn't equal immutability. That's a hard one because loads of people don't understand that, but are Bitcoin only. Like, I do know lots of people that that fit the other rules, but don't necessarily understand that. I don't know if I can agree with that one because on a technical level, that's a technical thing, and so many people. If that to me is just that would manifest that lack of understanding of the point you made is that would manifest as shitcoining. So if they're Bitcoin only, you'd think they'd understand that. I don't want to be too presumptuous and guess that all the Bitcoin maxis I know actually understand that. But, that's a hard one. I don't even know. I want to agree with it, but I'm not sure I can. You're not a Bitcoiner if you don't understand that blockchain doesn't equal immutability. Oh, that's hard, because that basically means Andreas isn't a Bitcoiner. Can you imagine saying such a thing? Andreas isn't a Bitcoiner. That's a hard one to say, but I mean, it has been years since I watched any of his videos, and I don't know. All right, I agree, Joyce. You're not a Bitcoiner if you don't understand that blockchain doesn't equal immutability. We're going to add that one to the list. I should have, in fact, I'm going to make a little text file here. Maybe I can add this to the screen. I don't know. You're not a Bitcoiner if you don't understand that blockchain doesn't equal immutability. All right, we're going to have 2 text files here. And I'm going to keep a list of them. So This one is the don't agree list. Let me see if I can add this. Let me just add video. Let me just add the screen. Oh my god. I've got 400 windows to minimize before I can share my screen. Sorry guys. Right, here we go. Agree. If you're just joining, thanks so much. We're going over some of the rules of this cult. I mean, monetary network. If you're not a Bitcoiner, if you don't take... Here we go. All right, I'm just going to share my screen. I can go to text. I can copy. I need to add this as well, don't I? Copy. Sorry, guys. Where are we going? Input. Hello. I just muted myself. Sorry guys, I'm a massive noob today, but I'm just about figuring it out now. Hopefully you all can see everything properly here. So here is the list. Let me load up the chat again. There we go. You're probably all yelling at me because I have no idea what I'm doing here. So I'm gonna just maximize this thing. I promise I've just about got this together now. Let's go back through some of the comments. I shitcoin to get more Bitcoin. I know some maxis. All right, we're going to do shitcoins in a minute. Early Andreas was awesome, but I can't stand watching anything current that he's done. Yeah, I completely lost it with Andreas in, I think, 2016. Because all that mattered by 2016 was the block size debate, and he just never, ever took a position on it, which was maybe smart, but I also think kind of cowardly too. What is the understanding stance that it isn't immutable? Like that reorgs, no matter how long, are possible, however interoperable? Yeah, like, I think the argument really is just, like, if you take Ethereum, even if you do keep it proof of work and all that, like, at the end of the day, if Vitalik comes along and says, this isn't Ethereum anymore, something else is Ethereum, and the whole network goes, sure, like, then what's the point? The proof of work, Ethereum isn't proof of work. It will never be proof of stake. It's always just been proof of Vitalik. So the proof of work element is it's just an illusion, I think. So I think the argument that blockchains are immutable is, only in certain circumstances, and there's only one thing that meets those circumstances, which is Bitcoin. So let me try and catch up. Andreas orange pilled me. Yep, he orange pilled me too. But Max Kaiser was before Andreas for me. Andreas is cleaner and easier to watch, and I learnt more technical stuff. But Max Kaiser is the guy that got me going for it for real. You mean because Bitcoins can't be reversed with centralized shitcoins? Sound gone, audio gone, lost audio. Congratulations, you muted yourself. No audio, audio's gone, audio is gone. Okay, my audio is definitely gone for a while. I'm aware of that. But now we are back, and it's time to continue. So let's go. What's the next one? I like this one. You're not a Bitcoiner if you... Where am I going here? I'm sorry, guys. Properties, there we go. You're not a Bitcoiner if you have an exit strategy. How does that look? How does this actually look? Am I just looking awful here? This is just the worst. I'm so sorry about how this is. How can I make this whole thing work better? There we go. I'm a Bitcoiner. I'm not a streamer, guys. I'm figuring it out, but this is just the worst, isn't it? Let me go. There we go. All right, the next one. You are not a Bitcoiner if you have an exit strategy. Let me put that there. I'm going to say with this one... Hold on. First, I'm going to add... I can add a pop-out chat. That's the one thing I got to do, and then I can actually do this stream without having such a horrendous technical problem. So, repeat about Max Kaiser. Max Kaiser... definitely orange pilled me. He was the first guy I ever came across where I was like, this is amazing. And it happened at the right time in my life as well. So we should put Max Kaiser on this list. But what is that? You're not a Bitcoiner if you don't Max Kaiser. I don't know. Someone think about how we can phrase that in a way that actually makes sense. Yeah. Now, what's the next one? You're not a Bitcoiner if you have an exit strategy. My stream just went dead, I think. I'm not sure if anyone's still there. I think you are still there. All right. You're not a Bitcoiner if you have an exit strategy. I definitely think that's true. If your plan is to buy Bitcoin and sell it, then for more dollars at the end of the day, I think that sucks. I think in most cases it sucks. Though I do know people that are definitely Bitcoiners that bought Bitcoin and sold it to buy their dream house. And they got in and out at the right times and they did great. And they even kept some Bitcoin as well once they got their dream thing to go. So I think overall I'd agree that you need your exit strategy doesn't make sense. Bitcoin is where you go, you stay there. I think I agree with the Swan idea. We have a buy button, we don't have a sell button. I don't think, like, when people ask me about selling when they're new, I'm like, you're not going to want to sell, not for decades, and even then you're not going to. I like the Matrix meme, are you trying to tell me that when Bitcoin is ready, I'll be able to trade my Bitcoin for millions of dollars one day? No, Neo. I'm trying to tell you that when you're ready, you won't have to. I think I agree with that. So that's my take on that. I'm putting that in the agree one. You can't have an exit strategy. You should just be in Bitcoin forever. So what's next? You're not a Bitcoiner if you don't love guns. Yeah, I think you've got to be a weapons enthusiast. I think Bitcoin is to money what guns are to self-defense, and they're just a massive, very, very similar tool of self-sovereignty. I don't think you can be. I'm definitely adding this one to the list. So you're not a Bitcoiner if you don't love guns. I think that's the way. I definitely think that is the truth. The Fed made you a Bitcoiner. I am here. I will be 250K. I will sell 15%. Yeah, I mean, that's not an exit strategy though. That's a different thing. You can take profit every now and again. You might need to for whatever reason, but there are people that want to buy and then just sell when they've made a big profit, the whole lot. And that to me is the wrong way of looking at it. You can have a life plan though, and I've seen people do that stuff before, but the question is, what do you do with that 15%? Like, unless it's for something specific, like money, fiat money needs to be used like for something that you need to use it for. There's no point earning money if you don't have a plan for how to spend it. Otherwise, you're just by default going to use it as a kind of store of value, and that's not. You can't use fiat as a store of value. So when people are like, I turned 20 grand into 50 grand, now I just have 50 grand in the bank instead of 20 grand. I think that's missing the point, because if you gave me 50 grand, I would definitely just keep it in Bitcoin unless I had an immediate use for it and I needed it. I mean, that brings us on to the on zero one. So I think the guns one is obvious, right? I think we all agree with that. Let me actually move this over here. There we go. Let's go back to text, properties. Yeah, I think love guns is definitely there. Does anyone disagree? Does anyone think they hate guns but they're a Bitcoiner? I would love to know. I don't think anyone could reasonably disagree with that one. If you need an exit strategy from the fiat world, you need at least another residency passport to benefit from Bitcoin being as mobile as is. Yeah, I would like that. Okay, let's add that to the list. You're not a Bitcoiner if you don't have 2 passports, because everyone's very into doing that in the Bitcoin world. My exit on BTC is only when a very small portion of people, a very small portion will pay off the last of my debt of paying off my house. Yeah, I agree with things like that. I don't hate guns, but I certainly don't love them. All right. Where are we going next? You're not a Bitcoiner if you own a house. That's a fun one. I think I own a house. So in that regard, I think I own a house, but I think it's stupid. So I think in that regard, I'm not a Bitcoiner, because I think owning a house is stupid. I think it's a mistake. I think it's the opportunity cost is too big. I think it's a massive long treadmill to keep yourself on. You barely make any more than if you were to just pay the same thing, but you were to rent, which, okay, if you own a house instead of rent it, you're slightly more self-sovereign. You can't get kicked out of your own property, but it's difficult to kick out renters, which is part of the reason why it's so shitty to be a homeowner and to try and rent out a part of your home. Then I don't. It's the fact that Bitcoin just changes the game when it comes to property rights, because the amount of upkeep. I was talking about this one was inspired by my friend John. I don't know if he's watching, but hopefully he tunes in anyway. I think someone was saying on a podcast, like Willy Woo or something, was saying Bitcoiners don't own homes, and I basically agree. I don't think real estate is a shitcoin, which is what I think they were saying. But owning a home I think is a mistake in the current environment. You're much better off owning Bitcoin and renting your home, because owning your home is going to require a massive lump sum for the down payment. And then you still have to effectively pay what you would have paid in rent as a mortgage instead. So you've just got this opportunity cost of anywhere between, $15,000, $30,000 all the way up to like $200,000-$300,000, depending on your home and what your down payment is. If you'd have bought Bitcoin with that instead, you'd have done so much better. And then there's the fact that in Canada, at least, we're doing our Bolshevik revolution thing where we're just going to confiscate everyone's property anyway, or do a one-off wealth tax of 20% flat. Anyone that's got more than 100 grand worth of assets, 20%, we want it gone. And if you own your home, that's exactly the sort of thing they can do to you. But if you've just got Bitcoin, then you've got ways around that, in my opinion. So houses are generational wealth. Yeah, until they get confiscated. That's the problem. And that's happened before, and I don't put it past the Canadian government. No way. You're sitting duck. That's the problem with a house. Like, the reason Bitcoin's better than gold is because gold can be confiscated. If gold can be confiscated, a house can certainly be confiscated. And to be honest, houses are like being confiscated. You just take confiscation as being part of the territory with home ownership, because you just have to accept that they just constantly extort money out of you all the time, which is property taxes and just not being able to do anything you want with your own property. You can't do anything on it unless it's approved. And, all the requirements of upkeep and insurance and all that headache, like home ownership is the most annoying thing. I really regret being a homeowner. I wish I hadn't done it. And like, I mean, I like living here. It's very comfortable, but at the same time, I definitely would advise against it. I think it's a mistake. So I'm gonna put that one on the. I agree. You're not a Bitcoiner if you own a house. You're not a Bitcoiner if. Oh wait, hold on. If you don't love guns, I need to change that one. I think I'm going to put that one on the agree list. You're not a Bitcoiner if you own a house. And that's obviously we're having some fun here because I'm on the list now, and I'm definitely a Bitcoiner, guys. But I'm saying here's like the perfect ideal Bitcoiner has to be a tick in all these boxes, and I don't. So there you go. You're not a Bitcoiner if you. Let's do the next one. You're not a Bitcoiner if you aren't on zero. Yeah. Well, I'm not going to speak to my finances exactly, but this is a new thing. Laser Hodl, I don't know if you're all on Twitter as well. Laser Hodl's been championing this recently a lot. This idea of being on zero, like having zero fiat. You only sell Bitcoin as and when you need to pay whatever you need to pay to when you need it. You don't keep anything in savings at all. Now, presumably there's some wiggle room there in that particular piece of dogma, where it's like, yeah, if if you need to put gas in your car, you don't need to sell Bitcoin first because you actually have $100 in a savings account somewhere. Like, I don't know what his threshold is there. I don't know how zero is. And zero isn't really a line anymore anyway, because most of the time I'm below zero. Whoops, I said I wasn't going to talk about my finances, but most of the time I'm below zero because I use my credit card for everything. I just make sure I never go into having to pay interest with it because I always pay it off. And for that, I just, I'm pretty much on zero. I don't know, it depends where you draw the line for zero. I think you should be, I consider being on zero, not having literally no fiat at all, because if you're in, you just can't live in a realistic way there unless you're like 20 years old and living in a backpack, sleeping on couches and stuff. You're going to need some money, like if you've got family and stuff like that. So I keep pretty much only the fiat I need for the time I need it. And now I'm basically in the red all the time. I live off my credit card and I just pay it off as and when I need to. I don't keep a float of cash and I don't use a debit card to do it. So I'm pretty much on zero. And I think that's the right approach. I think we should encourage that. I'm going to be, I'm going to try and be generous in this list, but I feel like I want to be dogmatic too. So I'm adding that to the agree list. You need to be on zero. I don't think if you're, as I said, it depends where you draw the line. But if you have, if you're a normal person, North American, European, and you have anything approaching six figures in a bank as in fiat currency, that's ridiculous. And I think 5 figures is ridiculous too. Like if your turnover is millions of dollars, if your salary is millions of dollars and you have 20 grand in the bank, that's fine. But if you're a normal middle class and down person and you have anything in the 5 figures sitting in a bank account, and your monthly bills are like $3,000-4,000 or something, 20 grand's too much, 10 grand's too much. It doesn't make sense. I think you're being overly cautious, perhaps, or more to my mind, you're being not cautious enough. Hey, Das Record. Cheers from Vancouver. Keep up the good work. Thanks, man. Good to see you. It's good to be catching you in spaces recently as well. You've been making some great points, man. There was a funny one I caught you in, and then there was the philosophy one, which made me want to blow my brains out. I'm glad you agree on the house. Steve Jones, if you're not a Bitcoiner, if you don't mention Bitcoin to have... that's a good one, yeah. If you don't mention people who have no idea about it. Yeah, let's do that one next. That's a good one. Let me go back to here. All right, here we go. I'm going to need to sort this out. All right, who have no idea about it. Okay, we can just about see that. You're not a Bitcoiner if you don't mention Bitcoin to people who have no idea about it. I think that's just one of those ones that's obviously true. But at the same time, I want to disagree with this one, because if you don't mention Bitcoin to people, that can just be the cleverest. Like, I like Satoshi, wherever he is presumably not mentioning to people Bitcoin. He's not championing it in public because he doesn't want to betray the fact that he's Satoshi. But that goes for all large hodlers and even early anons and early NIMs and all that. Not mentioning Bitcoin to people is actually one of the smartest things you can do. That said, I'm obviously incapable of it. I can't bring myself to do that, even though it would be clever. I'm always telling my girlfriend, like, please don't mention Bitcoin. Like, if we move house somewhere else, I'm like, don't tell the neighbors I'm a Bitcoiner and all that stuff. I can't help it, and then I just go and break it. I just go and start talking to everyone about Bitcoin anyway. I can't resist it. I have to orange pill people. I have to be evangelical about Bitcoin. I can't help it. I think I'm adding that to the agree list, even though, I'm going to add it to the don't agree list as well. Don't agree. Hold on. You aren't a Bitcoiner if you don't mention Bitcoin to people who have no idea about it. I'm adding it to both because this is actually the smart thing to do. Like, yeah, maybe you could conceivably talk about it to people and be like, yeah, I only got into Bitcoin 6 months ago, when really you didn't. But I don't know. OPSEC is hard, man. Someone just said, that is great, Yale. You're not a real Bitcoiner if you're okay with hard forking. Oh, man. All right. That's a technical one, because we're going to need a hard fork. So let me just... I think Yale, I'm going to agree with that one, with one obvious exception. The hard fork we have to do to fix the Unix time bug, which is 2096, if I'm not mistaken. We have to do a hard fork before then. So I'm gonna say I agree. You're not a Bitcoiner if you're okay with hard forking, but with one obvious exception. Oops. Unix time bug. Because we have to fix that. So if we don't fix that, then it's the Bitcoin version of the Millennium bug, except real, unlike climate change, which is the next one. Let's do climate change. You aren't a Bitcoiner if you believe in AGW. This is one that's going to piss everyone off. AGW meaning anthropogenic global warming, or just basically the narrative around climate change. I spent my whole life feeling guilty about doing anything that consumed carbon or produced carbon dioxide. I've been there. I've spent years as a lefty doing all the typical lefty things. Around a year ago, I started to finally accept that, yeah, this is nonsense. This is absolute nonsense. And I've started to go down the rabbit hole, but even I've just learnt to listen to my intuition more with this. This is before we get to relevance of when it comes to Bitcoiners or not. I've gone down this rabbit hole, and that whole 97% of scientists agree thing. I know how this all works now. I know how it worked with COVID, and it's basically you have no platform and no funding if you speak out against a narrative. And I watched a documentary on a guy that had a different theory for why it's getting hotter, and it was a perfectly reasonable rule. And when he brought his theory to any scientific bodies, they didn't say, we agree or we disagree or we need more research or this isn't conclusive. They said this is irresponsible, bringing this information to people because it might decrease motivation for us to reduce carbon emissions. That's not a criticism of whether it's true or false. His theory was basically solar activity, the amount of clouds affects the temperature. When there's more solar activity, there are fewer clouds. Or when there's fewer clouds, it gets hotter. When there's more clouds, it gets colder. And he was like, there's a factor in this. The sun doesn't do nothing. It goes through periods of lots of activity and periods of no activity. I'm not saying this is the reason for it, guys, but I'm saying the reaction to his theory, which is a perfectly reasonable scientific hypothesis. There are long periods where there are slightly more clouds and slightly fewer clouds, and it presumably has an effect, and it might be responsible for what we're seeing. the fact that the scientific community went, you're ridiculous and you're irresponsible and we don't want you anywhere, he wasn't doing anything ridiculous. That just shows me it's the same politicized bullshit masquerading as science as COVID is. And this is my original point at the beginning of this video, is Bitcoiners don't make absurd claims. They tend to reject widely believed absurd claims. And that's an important difference, because that makes us a lot more reasonable. We're not saying there's a flying spaghetti monster. We are saying global warming is not necessarily a result of man's activities. It might be, but it's not. I don't know. I think I'm gonna say. I don't even know where to put that though. What do you guys all think? CO2 is tree food. I agree. We just make the planet greener by producing more of it. I think all these things that I couldn't believe I would end up saying. 4 or 5 years ago, I totally think now. Like chemtrails. I've been laughing at chemtrails my whole life. Turns out they're openly doing it. Turns out they're just like, we've been doing this cloud seeding. We've been doing this for a long time. That was always the theory for what chemtrails were. Like, some people had theories that they were like neurotoxins and things to change people's thinking, but other people were like, it's just weather control. And they openly admit to having done it for a while. So it's just like, Ed Snowden making all those leaks about what the NSA were doing. Everyone went from, you're a conspiracy theorist, to, yeah, we already knew that. Like, there was no outrage in the middle. So that chemtrails have gone from being a conspiracy theory to something we already knew. It's no big deal. There was never a bit where people were like, oh, that's true. How interesting. Maybe they shouldn't be doing that. There was no discussion. So anyway, we got to figure out where to put AGW. You're old. The 70s fear porn for climate is that we're moving into an ice age. I remember Crypto Cotta. Exactly. I've just been through all of that. It was, we're going to freeze to death. We're going to freeze to death every year until I think it was 1980. Then it suddenly, we're going to boil the ocean. We're going to boil the ocean. And it just flipped. There was a switch that flipped, and it went from, it's getting too cold. We need to fix everything, to, it's getting too hot. We're going to fix everything. We need to fix everything. I completely agree. It's nonsense. And all those headlines were saying, capital city A, capital city B, whether it's London or New York or whatever, is going to be underwater by, first it was the year 1995, then it was the year 2000, then it was 2003, and it's 2021. My hometown London is exactly as it was back in the 80s when they started predicting all these doomsday scenarios. They're bullshit. Just like, 20% of Americans are going to die of COVID. It's bullshit. It's stuff they tell you in the media to get clicks, and they pretend there's science for it when there really isn't. So I'm not having it. It's nonsense. But where do we put believe in AGW? I personally don't believe in AJ. You're not a Bitcoiner if you believe in AGW. That is the theory. I'm not sure where exactly to put it, because I don't think it counts exactly. I think there probably are Bitcoiners that are reasonable Bitcoiners. I don't think it's relevant enough for us to put it in the agree list. So even though my position is that AGW is bullshit, that doesn't make me a Bitcoiner. I think I'm going to have to show some integrity here and put it, you aren't a Bitcoiner if you believe in AGW. I'm putting that in the don't agree list. AGW is anthropogenic global warming. Basically the theory that climate change is as a result of human activity, not natural in any capacity. I think it's bullshit. But never mind. Anyway, where are we going? Next one. You aren't a Bitcoiner. Here's another one that isn't really related to Bitcoin, but where we have a lot of agreement, or a lot of the loud voices say the same things. You aren't a Bitcoiner if you are vaccinated against COVID. Now, I know lots of exceptions, lots of prominent, famous Bitcoiners with hundreds of thousands of followers on Twitter. I know some of them to be vaccinated, whether they're lying to me or not. Or perhaps, whether they may be lying, but in this case, if I'm to take them at their word, I know some big, heavy-hitting Bitcoiners that are vaccinated. Obviously, I'm not. Obviously, I would never take those vaccines. I would die before I take it. Not of COVID, obviously, because I'm not going to die from COVID. I have a 0% chance of dying from COVID. But I have a non-0% chance of dying from the vaccine. I definitely am at more risk taking one of those vaccines. And I should have put that in quote marks. because that's how strongly I feel about this topic. I'm putting vaccinated in quote marks because these are not fucking vaccines, guys. They are some sort of crappy, very rushed, attempt at getting, a notoriously difficult kind of virus under control that we've never been able to control before, with medicine that never got past the Emergency Use Authorization Act, that doesn't prevent you from catching it, doesn't prevent you from dying from it, doesn't prevent you from passing it on to other people, and for all I can see, doesn't actually do anything of any use whatsoever, unless you believe the statistics that the majority of the sick people in hospitals with COVID were unvaccinated. That's the one argument I hear for vaccination, but I think it's just bullshit again. I think it's just more fear-mongering and more... There's obviously political pressure to make people scared into getting the vaccine, and that's how you do it. But every time I hear about some overrun hospital, firstly, they're not overwhelmed at all. Secondly, they've sacked half of their doctors and nurses for not getting the vaccine. So, I mean, the hypocrisy there is a joke. But, again, where do I put it? I think I'm going to have to be, again, against my own intuition here and say, if you're saying you aren't a Bitcoiner if you are vaccinated against COVID, there's too many prominent, fantastic Bitcoiners I know that are vaccinated against it for me to put them in that list. So I disagree with you strongly if you're getting the COVID vaccine, but I'm not going to say you're not a Bitcoiner. So I'm putting that in the I don't agree list. I hate to do it, but I have to. You're not a Bitcoiner if you believe that might is right or violence is the answer. Not a Bitcoiner if you let's put this one here. I can't do long strings because I can't seem to modify my... You're not a Bitcoiner if you believe that might is right or violence is the answer. Bitcoin is a peaceful revolution for sure, but at the same time, Yale, I don't want to be one of these people that thinks, it's kind of why I defend the toxic maxis, because I believe that you can't be afraid of confrontation. You can't just want to do this Canadian, let's all be nice and friendly and kind to each other all the time and never cause a disturbance or anything like that. I don't think that's the way. I think you've got to be prepared to do violence when it's necessary. I mean, we can clarify it to say you can't initiate violence. Like, you can go with the non-aggression principle and you can be a libertarian about it. That I'd agree with. But violence is the answer, definitely in self-defense. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with being, being the aggressor in in a confrontational scenario. But the trouble with that is, this is my whole problem with libertarianism in general, is that there's no objective or consistent framework for how you define who was the aggressor, because it's like the youngest argument ever when you tell your parents he started it if you get in a fight with your brother. It's like, who started it really? It's anyone's decision really. And in a libertarian's, like, this is why I say my political philosophy is Bitcoin. I don't say it's libertarianism or anarchism or anything else, or even capitalism, because all of these ideologies can't be expressed as they are in theory, and therefore everything that's wrong with them, there's always some hand-wavy dismissal of why that wasn't real libertarianism or real socialism, and even capitalism too. I'll defend capitalism because it's essentially freedom and property rights. I mean, that's very easy to defend. But when socialists come along and criticize capitalism, like the nasty elements of what goes on in the world, or the exploitation, and we have to start tying ourselves in ideological knots going, oh, that's because of the lack of actual capitalism, and it's not real capitalism and all this shit. That's no good, because then we're just like the socialists. I don't want to be like, that's not real this, that, and the other. Like, me and Tomo were talking about this the other day on Spaces. The reason we love Bitcoin is because it works in practice. In theory, you can't solve the Byzantine generals problem. Bitcoin cannot exist in theory, unlike libertarianism and socialism and all this bullshit that exist perfectly in theory and are absolutely awful in practice. Bitcoin's the other way around. It doesn't work in practice. You can't solve the Byzantine generals problem because of the speed of light. You can't have the same information being known in two different places, in an immutable fashion, in a way that everyone in different locations in the universe can agree on. You can't actually do that in theory, but Bitcoin actually does do it in practice. So Bitcoin's amazing. I subscribe to it as a practical political philosophy. But anyway, what do we do with this one? You can't be a Bitcoiner if you believe that might is right or violence is the answer. You basically, you have to be a libertarian. You have to be an idealist libertarian. I'm going to say I don't agree. I don't agree that... are there Bitcoiners that are, defending violence or aggression? Could that be the case? The reason I don't agree, Yale, is because... there are people out there now that are like, we need Nuremberg 2.0. We need to find all these doctors that are vaccinating people that clearly aren't consenting. We need to, hang all the political, like Fauci, all these people need to be, made examples of and all that. A bunch of people are going to consider that aggression, right? Even though it's quite feasibly self-defense. The problem is a lot of people are going to be like, if you go and you lynch a doctor or like a public health figure in a public square, like, that's aggression, man. Like, and the argument, I agree that you're not the one who started it, but at the same time, there are people that think I'm the aggressor for walking in a grocery store without a mask. There are people that think that. Libertarians think that. Libertarians think some stupid stuff, man. Don't even get me started on how they talk about abortion. That's the stupidest argument I've ever heard. Like, they seem like libertarianism doesn't mean you don't have responsibility for your kids. It's like they just take it too far. Libertarianism is such a stupid ideology at times. It's defensible, but at the same time, I don't know. So anyway, how does it relate to Bitcoin though? I think you can be a Bitcoiner without it, but I think you're probably right, Yale. I think it does. You're not a Bitcoiner if you believe that might is right or violence is the answer. I think that has to go in the agree category, Yale, even though there's loads of exceptions to it, and I think libertarianism is basically dumb. You hate YouTube, but you should discuss this I should discuss this on a different platform. Buzztron, I'm all ears, mate. What's a better platform? We don't have a self-hosted alternative to YouTube yet. So, and for me, switching to not Gab, that's a social network. But what are the YouTube alternatives? BitChute and Odyssey, I think it's called, and Rumble. I can't be bothered because it's not a full solution. It's just moving to a YouTube where I like the vibe of the people that run the platform more than I like Google. It's still the same problem. It's still hosted. Until Start9 come out with something that can feasibly stream, and it'll probably be a lot better when we finally do. I'm just going to keep using YouTube until I get kicked off it. If I get kicked off it, we'll go to Rumble or something like that. But for the time being, I'm just going to stay here. Like, I don't think Rumble is basically, it just makes less people see what I'm doing, and at the same time, Rumble can just take my channel offline just like YouTube can. I think it's the illusion of a solution. I think you really need to self-host your content. I have got all of the For the Love of Bitcoin episodes. I've got all of them uploaded to my Tor hidden service if you want to watch that. They are, I think I've just got the audio, but they're uploaded on a Tor hidden service website, so that's uncensorable. I have got backup plans for if YouTube goes, but right now I'm not hosting anything else up on those websites. So here is a good one. I must have this already. Maybe I just forgot to put it in properties. You're not a Bitcoiner if you don't take custody of your BTC. I mean, we must have already said this one at the beginning. Do we even need to discuss that, guys? Not your keys, not your coins. Yeah, that one is, I'm not having it. No one can argue with that. We already said that one, didn't we? I just forgot to put it in. What did we do with own a house? You're not a Bitcoiner if you own a house. I'm putting that in the agree list, even though, I already put that in here. I'm putting that in the agree list, even though I own a house. Here's a good one. You're not a Bitcoiner if you have a non-KYC, if you don't have a non-KYC stash. You should definitely have a non-KYC stash, but you shouldn't tell anyone about it. So I'm going to put that in the rules, and it's all, but I like, the reason I'm going to put this one in the agree list, hold on, you're not a Bitcoiner if you don't have a non-KYC stash. The reason I'm happy to put this one in the rule book is because no one should be discussing whether they have one or not, because it should be a secret. So everyone could openly disagree and they'd just be doing good OPSEC again. It's a bit like the one where you shouldn't evangelize about Bitcoin in public. Yale or someone said, you're not a Bitcoiner if you don't talk about Bitcoin to everyone all the time. And I'm saying, I agree with that, but at the same time, you shouldn't be, if you're not doing it, you're probably smarter than everyone else. And it's the same with the non-KYC stash. If you're not talking about it, but you have it in secret, that's great. But this is not one of these things you can be publicly shamed for or discuss in public, because then you're undoing the benefit of having the non-KYC stash. But how would you get it? Let's talk about that. You'd buy your Bitcoins on BISC, which is okay. You can coin join, which is even better, but you still had to buy them maybe through an exchange, a KYC exchange originally. Or you can mine them. That's the best way possible. Mined Bitcoins is the only evidence that anything ever happened is you paid an electricity bill. That's it. That's the way to go. Start9 is exciting. Yeah, Start9 is very exciting. I work for Start9. We're doing great things. I just had a video on here looking through the 030 interface, which is about to come out. Check that out if you want. It was buggier than I thought, so I should have waited. I was a bit premature on that demo. But we'll have 030 bug-free in a couple of weeks. There are some exceptions to own a house situation, in my opinion. I only own 300 grand on a 2 million property. My payments are less than renting a lot. If that changes, I have a big ass RV to hit the road. Yeah, well, the issue with that, crypto, I went over that. The issue that I think that brings out is you have almost $2 million. You have $1.7 million locked up in a property that you could use to own Bitcoin instead, and that's going to do so much better than the property that it makes the property a mistake. Don't you agree? Anyway, have a non-KYC stash. Yeah, I disagree on that. It's a pretty hardline stance to not own property other than BTC. I also own some equity. I'm not super into it, but decentralize your investments. I disagree, guys. I'm putting, if you own a house, you're not a Bitcoiner. And the reason it's legit for me to do that is because I own a house. And I'm calling bullshit on my own strategy here. So you know it's authentic. You might disagree with it, but it's definitely authentic. So let's do the obvious one that we haven't done yet. You aren't a Bitcoiner if you shitcoin. Here we go, guys. The obvious one. You aren't a Bitcoiner if you shitcoin. Now, we obviously agree with that. I'm going to put that here right at the beginning. Why aren't you a Bitcoiner if you shitcoin? Because I think it's assuming you have the asymmetric information advantage. Assuming you're best friends with Brian Armstrong or CZ Binance or whatever, and you get the inside scoop of when they're about to launch, Shiba Inu or whatever bullshit. They're about to put it on their exchange 3 weeks from now, and they haven't made the announcement yet. Supposing you got that inside scoop and you can put all your money into that shitcoin because you know it's going to pump in a week, and they launch it. They announce the launch, the price pumps, and you sell. You made a fortune. Even if you're that guy, which most shitcoiners aren't. Most shitcoiners are looking at charts all day, sitting in Telegram groups and getting rug pulled. But supposing you're in a situation where you can reliably make money from shitcoins, I still think it's not worth the time and effort and the concern about the technical stability of these projects. Because even if I had the inside scoop on when shit was going down in Ethereum, if I knew if and when Vitalik was making announcements, if I knew these things beforehand, I still wouldn't buy and sell Ethereum to make a profit, to try and stack more sats, whatever, because it's just extra headache. The amount of time and energy it takes me to keep up to date with what's going on in Bitcoin and to just do everything else I need to do in my life, I would have to sacrifice all of that to keep on track with not just one, but every fucking shitcoin, because it never ends with shitcoins. There's a million new shitcoins every day. The amount of headache, I actually consider what goes into my brain and what I'm thinking about to be something that's a scarce resource that I need to actually manage properly. And I'm super happy that, there was a no-brainer shitcoin purchase last week. You bought it, you made 50% more. There's no way, guys, that I'm going to do stuff like that. I'm never going to sell my Bitcoin, incur a taxable event, buy a shitcoin that might or might not do what I think it's going to do, and come back out into Bitcoin again, because it's never a no-brainer. There's always the opportunity cost is paying attention to shit that actually matters. And Bitcoin is there for peace of mind. It's not there for you to gamble on and do great and keep an eye on it all the time. We love it when we go away for a long time. The longer I can get without checking the Bitcoin price, the better. The more I'm focusing on other stuff. And you know when that happens the most? When I pay least attention to the price is when I'm doing something else in Bitcoin. Like when we were dealing with, when we were writing our Taproot client 7 or 8 months ago, I forgot to check the price for weeks at a time because I was busy actually doing stuff that I felt was productive in Bitcoin. There are other times where I'm working on my miner in the garage. I'll spend a whole day like drilling holes, soldering pipes, all this stuff. It's a lot of fun, and I'll be like, oh yeah, the price. Like, it won't even occur to me to check it. I can imagine no life more miserable than being a shitcoin trader. I think it's... I'm not even going to say you're not a Bitcoiner if you shitcoin. I'm going to say you're not living life the way a life should be lived if you're trading shitcoins, because it's just empty, hollow, meaningless numbers. There's nothing more about it. Like, if you own a Bitcoin, you own a Bitcoin. If you own, you know, how many ETH do you need to own a whole Bitcoin? Like 20 ETH or 15 ETH or something? That's just numbers on a screen to me. That's bullshit, because they can even change. What is that as a percentage of the whole supply? It's all meaningless to me. Having dollars in a bank account's nothing, but having Bitcoin sitting at an address you control because the blockchain says it's yours, that feels real to me. That feels like something I can forget about. That feels like something that isn't a gamble. I think you're just not doing life properly if you shitcoin. I think buy Bitcoin, hold it. Loads of people are going to get mad about this one. Loads of people could be like, oh, I made like 20% more, like, you know, I'm not having it. I think I'm going to give an exception to stable coins here. You have an absolute, you know, you're entitled to own stable coins if it's the only way you can get exposure to a decent fiat currency. If you need to keep $100 in the bank, but you're from, you know, Bolivia or something, and there's no way for you to do that apart from cash, which will just be stolen from you, or Tether, fair enough, use Tether. That's why I don't count stable coins as shit coins, because no one's pumping them to make loads of money. No one's like, buy my Tether, it's going to pump. Doesn't work. It's a stable coin by design. It's not pump and dump by design. It's centralized and super risky, but there are use cases for it, and I respect the people that don't have any access to the US dollar and only have some awful fiat currency that's much worse than the dollar. So I'm not including, I'm going to write that, doesn't include stable coins. And that's not to say stable coins are any good, but they are good for that one use case, and I have to respect it. F shitcoiners of all stripes. YouTube chat censors way too much. Yeah, really? It censors the F word? 99. I don't know what that refers to, 99, but as long as you're still working for fiat currency, you're shitcoining. This is going to be a hard one for most people to satisfy. I don't think so, man. Like, I don't think, all right, that's another exception then. If you get paid in a shitcoin, which, I mean, look, let's be honest. When I say shitcoins, I mean crypto stuff. And it doesn't even include, stable coins. I don't mean gold or houses or you know, real estate or fiat. I don't consider those shitcoins, even though they are. But I mean, let's define shitcoin to just mean crypto nonsense, excluding stable coins. Let's literally define it as that, because I don't want to. Everyone's earning dollars because most people, that's all they pay. The point is, what do you keep it in? If you get paid in dollars, do you buy Bitcoin with it, or do you just pay your bills with it and you have everything balanced, or do you buy a bit of Bitcoin, or do you have to sell less Bitcoin because you spend $5,000 a month, but your salary is $3,000 a month, so you got to sell $2,000 worth of Bitcoin every month, and the rest you subsidize with fiat? That's all fair enough. I don't consider that shitcoining. I don't want to be too goalpost movie here with this, but we can't have it in the disagree one, Prem. I can't be saying you're a Bitcoiner if you shitcoin. There's no way. Even though, like, some people, yeah, you're going to get paid in US dollars. Like, does that count as shitcoining? Technically, but, like, I can't have shitcoins in that list. No way. Tether is probably a scam, sadly. I see something like this as a way to scam Bitcoiners out of Bitcoin, inflating the value. I don't think Tether's a scam, man. I don't think Tether's a scam at all. I think it does everything that's normal and acceptable in the financial world, which is they claim to be backed 1-to-1, which is, you know, what's the market cap of Microsoft, or, you know, Bear Stearns, or some Wall Street thing. where do they get these numbers from? They pull them out of their ass. Like when Goldman Sachs is selling, CDOs, are they really saying, we got this $300 million asset here, buy it, Mr. Hedge Fund, Mr. Teacher's Pension Fund, like buy it. How's it worth $300 million? It's all nonsense. It's a bunch of people that took out mortgages that they're never going to repay. Like Tether is, if anything, comes out golden when it comes to all this stuff. Yeah, they say they're 1-to-1 backed, and if you do a bit of digging, it's not that they have $1 for every Tether printed. They have some asset that's worth nominally the dollar value of the amount of Tether they printed. Yeah, that's a bit fishy, but at the same time, that's nothing in comparison to the kind of bullshit that goes on with these other incumbent financial systems. So they get a lot of blowback, but as far as I'm concerned, everyone involved in the project is fair enough. From what I know, Bitfinex, I like Bitfinex. They are good Bitcoiners. I don't buy the Tether FUD. I really don't. I think ultimately with Tether, what happens is it gets shut down because it's centralized, and the amount of people that are surprised is no one, because it's a centralized entity. It's doing something that literally only exists to get around, financial red tape, which is all there because governments really like putting that red tape up. There's no way that the stablecoins don't all get shut down. Like they are what CBDCs would be if CBDCs were free, and I mean free as in freedom. There's no way they don't get shut down. They are going to get shut down, and if you have a bunch of Tether, it's going to be gone. So that's why I say it's a useful tool for people in third world countries that have no access to the US dollar, and they are running a risk with it. But what's their alternative? Holding, absolute crap. They're not going to. It's a reasonable alternative for them. However, if you're if you live in New York and you have $10 million worth of Tether, I think you're nuts. You're absolutely nuts. Like, this thing is not going to not get shut down. It's going to be shut down at some point. So, shitcoin, obviously, you're not a Bitcoiner if you shitcoin. People can come with their exceptions all the time, but I don't think it's necessary. I think you can buy Bitcoin, you can hold it, and you can be satisfied, and you can feel like you're doing the right thing, and you are. So, I think that's an easy one to defend with some with some exceptions, but not any ones that anyone wouldn't sort of go, yeah, fair enough, but obviously generally shitcoins are bullshit. So here we go. 100% of your BTC goes to cold storage. You mine, you buy it every week, you puke a little fiat at the scoins. What? And wait for people to FOMO and then dump all over them. What's the at the scoins? I don't know what you mean. The S coins? You mean shit coins? And is YouTube really censoring the word shitcoin? Oh, hold on. I'm going to say it. Shitcoin. Oh, let me type it. You follow Bitfinex. It's good to get all the info to process. He really hates Tether, boy. Yeah, Bitfinex is full of shit. I followed him years ago. The guy has an agenda, and he stretches the truth to fit the agenda. He's not genuine, and he's not sincere in the things he says. Trust me, I had a lot of money sitting in Bitfinex when the Tether FUD was its absolute height in late 2017. I was scared. Nothing came of it. We've been hearing this Tether FUD for years now. It's been 4 years of constant Tether FUD. As far as I'm concerned, they're basically fine. The S word censored you. I see you, KK237. I saw your shitcoin. I see my shitcoin. You can't say SH yes. It doesn't work for me. Weirdly, I can see it. I don't know. You guys just must have the child filter on. I didn't realize how young my audience was. Anyway, you aren't a Bitcoiner if you... Let's go on to the next one. Where are we going with this? You aren't a Bitcoiner if you trade. That's a good one. You aren't a Bitcoiner if you... I know, I'm just trolling Cotter. You aren't a Bitcoiner if you trade. Well, I don't trade. I think it's a silly thing to do. I think the truth in this one comes from the fact that... well, the very obvious truth in this one comes from the fact that Bitcoin has an asymmetric risk. It's going to go to the moon, and we don't know when that is. Eventually, Bitcoin reaches escape velocity. We get hyper-Bitcoinization. Everyone realizes fiat is worthless, and people are just like, this is a joke. I can't believe anyone would ever take dollars for Bitcoin. Like, that's going to happen. If it doesn't, then Bitcoin is useless and it should already be at zero. But the point is, I think trading can often be people not understanding that. And, people... I actually think it makes more sense to trade shitcoins than it does to trade Bitcoin in a way. Because shitcoins don't have that same thing. Shitcoins exist in a short time frame to be pumped and dumped. And if you can get in on the pumps that they're designed to do, then you can win and you can make more sats doing it. Bitcoin, I just think there's never a time when I want it. Like, Bitcoin will pump and pump and pump, and I'll be like, yeah, this is so overextended. There's no way we're not dropping back. But I just can't ever trust it. I can't ever go, yeah, I'm definitely going to sell, because you have to deal with taxes if you do that, and then you're probably just not going to be correct anyway. So I don't do it. I don't trade. I think it's a mistake. And again, like I was alluding to earlier, that headache, that constantly having to keep up with, news events and everything. Like, I don't want to be sitting in cash. I don't trust it. I don't want cash in an exchange, and I definitely don't want it in a bank account. So I want to put that in you're not a Bitcoiner if you trade, because I think most people would agree, and I'm an agreeable type of guy. I'm a slave to general trends. I think you're not a Bitcoiner if you trade. I'm putting it in the agree list. You're welcome to disagree though. Trading is healthy market activity, no issues. Yeah, but like, there should be markets with a lot of liquidity. I agree with that, but that's not the same thing as being a straight up trader. Like, I don't know. Yeah, because good point. How do you actually establish what the value of Bitcoin is if there's no trading? I don't know. I'd like to think that everyone selling Bitcoin should be selling it because they actually need something else at the point they're selling it, not because they just want to hold dollars for a while because they think Bitcoin's going to go down. Like, yeah, but yeah, so I'm not talking about trade as in like, I bought some Bitcoin yesterday, therefore I traded some dollars to buy some Bitcoin. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying like if you trade as an actual professional, in a professional capacity, like you're actually, what's the word? You're actually like a day trader, I guess. Let's just change it to if you day trade. That will make sense. You have to trade euros for Bitcoin to buy Bitcoin. Yeah, I'm not saying if you exchanged something for Bitcoin, you did a trade, therefore you're not a Bitcoiner. No, I don't mean it in that capacity, guys. Okay, we're in top chat. You included, mechanic. You can choose live chat on the drop down above the chat. Oh, I see. Let's go to live chat. Am I missing loads of messages? If I am, I'm sorry about that. Thanks for pointing that out, Yale. But like you said, speculation in all things is fine. It establishes a value. It's not fixed. Yeah, speculation, I don't know. I'm labeling it as day trading that you shouldn't be doing. We've done this one. We've done this one. We've done have a NonKYC stash. We've done love of guns. This was a good one on Twitter. I need to go back on Twitter in a second. You're not a Bitcoiner if you haven't traded a hash board for ammo. Let me put this one up on the screen. Oops. Text. I like this one because it's some deep Bitcoiny anarcho-capitalist shit. The idea of trading Bitcoin mining equipment for guns. We like that. Or ammo, or ammunition rather. But, I mean, it sounds like it's the wrong way round, hey? You should have traded ammunition for a hash board. I think that should be the way. I don't know. I don't think this one's a fun one. I don't think it really belongs on the list. You're not a Bitcoiner if you're a rabid atheist. I wasn't going to bring religion into it because I think, well, my personal opinion is that atheism is the peak of Mount Midwit. That's not my comment. Someone commented that on Knut's post the other day. I completely agree. I think that is one obvious area where the idiots and the geniuses end up back in the same place is theism. Absolutely. What's a hash board? Like one of the... No, it can just each, like if you buy an Antminer or an S19, like it will have 3 hash boards in it. So the idea that this guy's not even trading miners, just individual hash boards, super funny. If you haven't traded a hash board for ammo, I'm going to put it in the agree list because it's fun. Why not? There we go. There's 2 ways in which I'm not a Bitcoiner because I've never done that. And I haven't done the reverse either. You're not a Bitcoiner if you voted for Joe Biden. Lol. Okay. I know Bitcoiners that did. I actually do. Sorry to say it. Yeah, I mean, I know Bitcoiners that got vaccinated, and I know Bitcoiners that voted for Joe Biden. And they're the shittest, but they're still the Bitcoiners. Like, not the vaccinated ones. I know good Bitcoiners that have got vaccinated, but I don't know any good Bitcoiners that voted for Joe Biden. Fuck it. I'm putting it in the I put it in the agree list. You're not a Bitcoiner if you. I need to change this. If you voted for Joe Biden, fuck it. I'm putting it in that list because how can you possibly watch anything that Joe Biden does and not be like, this is, you cannot possibly be serious with this guy. Let's go, Brandon. Yeah, let's go, Brandon. I agree. Like, there's no way he knew what was going on there. His wife did. Some Biden voters can still be saved if they have BTC. I don't know, man. You're not a Bitcoiner if you vote. Don't agree. I don't vote, but I know there's just way too many Bitcoiners. Look, you can vote pragmatically, dude. Like, I agree that voting's stupid, and I agree that it's actually morally wrong because you're legitimizing whoever it is that's in power by voting at all. Like, I much prefer the scenarios where you have some asshole like Justin Trudeau or David Cameron or Boris Johnson or whatever in power, and they got in with 11% of the country voting for them because only like 15% of people voted. That to me is great because I'm like, you pretend to have authority and legitimacy, but no one actually voted for you. And if everyone votes as a result of like Australia, where they fine you if you don't vote, or if they vote because they do the tactical voting where you vote for the person most likely to beat the person you most hate, which is Canada and the UK and any first past the post system, or actually America too, obviously. Like, that's the Biden vote. A lot of people just hated Trump that much that they voted for Biden to get Trump out. Whatever. Like, I don't agree. I would never do that. I think it's immoral, but at the same time, I can respect it. It's just not the way I do something. Brandon Bucks. Let's go, Brandon. LGB team. The LGB team. Let's put a hashtag in the chat. LGB team. So, Joe is good for Bitcoin. Mignon cow. Everything is good for Bitcoin. Everything is good for Bitcoin. Unless governments adopt fiscal responsibility and bring back the gold standard. That's the only thing they can do, which wouldn't be a bad thing, by the way, would it? So the only thing governments can do, it's like the motivation for people moving to Mastodon and self-hosting social networks and moving to Signal and Telegram, like, which isn't self-hosted, but the motivation for that stuff comes from how shitty social media platforms and chat platforms actually are. So yeah, Joe is good for Bitcoin because he's an example of a central bank doing the stupidest things they can possibly do, and that is good for Bitcoin. But that's not to say Bitcoin needs governments to be stupid, but it does help. It does accelerate things. I'm glad you guys are agreeing there. Hold on, how many people have I got in here? I've got 11 people in here at the moment. I do have to go soon. We've got rid of Joe Biden. We've got rid of exit strategy. We've got rid of trade. We've done all these. AGW. Sunblock, sunscreen. Where do we stand on that, guys? I don't know what to say about that one exactly. I think it's a scam, but I am of Jewish heritage, which means I do have a... Well, fuck that. I'm half Scottish too, so I don't get sunburnt. I think it's a scam. I think if you're ginger, yeah, okay, I do know people that will just get absolutely burnt to a crisp straight away if they go outside in the month of July, which is funny. Seed oil, tungsten cubes, yeah, like I think it might be dietary. I don't know on this one. We're gonna get to carnivory, don't worry. Sunblock, sunscreen. I don't know. Apparently they're different too, and I haven't done my research. I don't know enough about it. I'm gonna put that on the don't agree. If you use sunblock, sunscreen, but it's a fun orthodoxy. And if you haven't If you haven't tried going out in the sun without it and you're scared to do it, just take little times. Like if you're sitting in the sun for like 5 hours, just keep switching sides. If you're, so you don't expose one half of your body more than the other. Obviously, your nose is going to stick out a lot, but turn your back to the sun every now and again. The day is only if you're in a place with really, really hot sunshine, powerful sun, then it's going to be near the equator. You're going to have reliably the days are never going to be longer than 12 hours. So, and the sun will never meaningfully be that strong for more than 5 or 6 hours. So, just practice. Just go out there, get a bit of sunshine. It's very good for you. And obviously, we've seen these companies like Johnson & Johnson, where there's been horrible carcinogens, in their sunscreen, their sunblock products. That's nasty stuff. Why would you use something that's carcinogenic on your skin? Because you've been fed a bunch of fear porn about how the sun causes cancer, when humans have been walking around in the sun as long as there have been humans. And you need the sunshine, you need the vitamin D, and it's different from, you can't even supplement it there's nothing that replaces getting actual sunshine. No way. So I'm putting that in, screw it. I'm moving it to the I agree list. I've just convinced myself. If you haven't used Lightning, I'm putting Lightning, used LN. I'm putting that in the agree list. Hello. Hi. How's it going? Do you want to come and join? Okay, I'm almost done. Yes, I do. My throat is dry. I can't drink any more of it. I've only got a few left. Hello. This is Joyce, everyone. Say hello.
Hey. Hi.
Closer. No one will hear you.
Hi.
This is Joyce. To the we got 17 viewers now. That's cool. The next one we're going to do, what do you think on the sunblock thing? You're not a Bitcoiner if you use sunblock or sun cream. What do you think?
I use it on my face.
You use it on your face? Why?
It's a part of my routine.
Yeah.
I don't put it on the kids.
Yeah? Why don't you put it on the kids?
It's bullshit.
Yeah, because it's shit coinery?
Yeah, it's bullshit. But anti-aging.
It's anti-aging. Yeah. Okay, well, then it's totally bullshit for kids. All right. Everyone says hello. Okay, so, well, she uses it, but she knows it's bullshit. So I guess she is a raging BS-V-tard, after all. Who am I married to? Okay, next one. Carnivory. Carnivory. This is like the defining toxic maximalist issue. I can't believe it took this long to get it. You aren't a Bitcoiner if you eat meat. What do you think, guys? A quick one. Just give me if you eat meat. If you don't eat meat, that's the one. You aren't a Bitcoiner if you don't eat meat. What do you all think? Too much sun will age you quickly. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but I mean, that doesn't mean use sunblock, does it? That just means be careful. Wear a hat. I mean, you can wear a hat, right? You disagree. You aren't a Bitcoiner if you don't eat meat. You disagree. There's that guy, Bitcoin vegan. No, you're not a Bitcoiner if your girlfriend don't know what Bitcoin is. Well, yeah. I mean, yes. All right. That doesn't even need debate. You're not a Bitcoiner if your girlfriend don't know what Bitcoin is. That's 1,000% true. If your girlfriend's not okay with it, like my girlfriend puts up with me mining with an S19 in the garage. That makes me a Bitcoiner. If she'll put up with that. I mean, hold on. Veganism is weird. Nah, if you don't eat meat, I'm suspect. I don't know, man. There are Bitcoin vegans. There are yogis into Bitcoin. There are like really spiritual people sitting on top of mountains offering guidance to people they're obviously not eating meat because they believe you don't eat dead animals because it's bad for your karma or whatever. I mean, we're not talking like, okay, I did actually pull it up. Where's the food pyramid? It was ridiculous. Like, again, this was my original point, remember? That a lot of what we do in Bitcoin is, as an orthodoxy, is just a rejection of other bullshit orthodoxies. I think it depends how you define carnivory, because carnivory is all well and good, but we're not talking about carnivory. We're talking about all this bollocks we've been fed for the past 70 years about how the food that's actually really good for you is bad for you. I mean, this is the food pyramid from the 1950s. It's telling you that bread, cereal, rice, and pasta are the main thing. There's nothing worse than these foods. They don't have any nutritional value at all. Like, if you go whole grain and all that stuff, you might get a bit of vitamin E from the bread. That's it. Like, they don't even have potato here. Potato has a bit of vitamin C in it. But it's bread and cereal. Cereal is only a thing because Kellogg was he, a Presbyterian or some weird sect of Christianity, and they were vegetarians, and he's the one that invented this whole breakfast is the most important meal of the day bullshit. If you eat Kellogg's, you're eating sugar and more processed garbage, a bunch of industrial waste. There's nothing healthy about cereal. It is not the right way to start the day. I'm not having it, and that is the main thing you're supposed to eat. What's next? Vegetables, fruit. That I do think there's a place for fruit and vegetables. I'm not a carnivore, guys, but I've done carnivory before, and I've kept detailed journals of it while I do it. The last time I did it was a year ago. I did a whole month of carnivory, strict. I didn't so much as take a supplement with gelatin on the pill. Like, I would take the pill apart and just have, if it was like I was taking beef liver and the pancreas and heart supplement stuff, and I wasn't even eating the gelatin on the pill. I was strict. I didn't have any dairy. I didn't have anything. All I had was eggs and meat and organ meat, muscle meat and organ meat. That's it. And it was incredible. I would even lay low on things like salt, and I barely used pepper. So pretty much, hey. Oh, thanks, babe. Yeah, I was super disciplined with the whole thing. I did, I kept a journal. It was the best my stomach's ever been. I didn't, like, everything about it, like all this stuff you hear about, you need fiber, otherwise you're going to get constipation, all this stuff. Turns it's all bullshit. I was super regular. Like, when I eat like my normal indulgent Western diet, pizza and all this stuff, I need to shit 3 times a day, and it's an ordeal, like, because it's just so much mass moving through your stomach, right? Like, if you just live on meat, you can eat like this much food the size of your fist every 48 hours and you're fine. You don't need to go and shit all the time because you're not eating like cartloads of like bulk and mass and indigestible bullshit. You're just eating what you need, and most of it gets absorbed, and then you do a tiny little shit and it's gone. That sheer amount, the idea that could be the cause of all this inflammation, like red meat causes inflammation, it really doesn't. Masses of bulk moving through your digestive system is what causes inflammation. So I'm not having it. I'm just going to take a sip of water and we'll head back to the chat. Oh, I'm so glad she bought me that. She can hear my voice is dying. Yeah, like, that was graphic. Yeah, I'm sorry to talk about. Well, people call me Bitcoin Mechanic, BM, and apparently that means bowel movement. So it was going to happen eventually. It was going to come up. So, yeah, this is my point with carnivory. It depends how you define it. I think Bitcoin is rejecting Keynesian economics, fiat currencies, and the food pyramid. I think those 3 things are so linked. I'm gonna pussy out on this one. I'm gonna say you're not a Bitcoiner if you don't reject conventional wisdom on conventional dietary wisdom / food pyramid. The food pyramid is a straight up lie. It's literally the opposite of what's healthy, in my opinion. Look at this. The rest of it, they put meat, poultry, fish. I've even seen updated versions of the food pyramid where there's no red meat on it at all. There's only chicken. And chicken is garbage when it comes to meat. I agree with Saifedean that chicken is a vegetable, if from a carnivore's perspective. It's full of omega-6, which is the most inflammatory fat there is, and it's got hardly any omega-3, which is supposed to be the counterbalance to it. It's not good meat at all. And they're like, oh, red meat's so unhealthy. At least if you're going to eat meat, it has to be chicken. Chicken is the least healthy meat. I'd rather be, if I had to, like, on the scale of things, if it had to be eat red meat, eat chicken instead of red meat, and be a vegan, I would go with veganism before I would do the chicken thing. Obviously, red meat would be my preference, but I think chicken's just an awful thing. Like, you'll probably have eaten turkey recently, and you haven't shit since you ate the turkey, because it's just so, poultry's just such garbage, man. Anyway, and look, at the top of the food pyramid, i.e. the thing you should eat the least of, is fats. How the fuck are fats at the top? They are the healthiest, most essential thing there are. Your body can manufacture anything out of... Your body can turn anything into carbohydrates, which are supposed to be the most important thing you can eat. And your body cannot manufacture fats. You have to eat the fats. And those are told the things you should eat least. This is completely illogical. The thing is literally upside down. Fats are essential. They are called essential fatty acids. You cannot manufacture fat. And all the stuff in... You've seen anemics. You've seen people that skip on red meat. There do seem to be people that just don't get on with red meat, and they love it, and they try and eat it, and after a couple of bites, they just get a headache. And I don't know. I don't know what's up with them. Maybe I do put some stock in the blood type diet. Blood type A's aren't supposed to be able to handle meat, and I know a few blood type A's that are like, yeah, I'll buy a steak and I'll have a bite of it, and then I'll just feel like shit. So those people are exceptions. So that means I know what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to say that, oops, there's my VNC. I'm going to say that, yeah, you have to reject the food pyramid, and you have to reject, all this corporate bullshit masquerading as science. That one doctor that said, fat's bad for you, eat sugar instead. That was nonsense, and that's been debunked. And still, you go to the supermarket, they still sell margarine because people think fat's bad for you. And margarine's full of just awful stuff. So this nonsense, it lasts for generations, man. Like, I was told by my grandma, red meat's bad, egg yolk's bad, because they were listening to the science at the time, but it's garbage. Egg yolks and red meat are two of the most nutritious food around. So, like this, but you're not a Bitcoiner? I don't know about that. Like, you can be a vegan, that's the point. You can be a vegan and eat healthy vegan food and be a Bitcoiner, in my opinion. But if you follow the food pyramid, then you're not a Bitcoiner, because you're too gullible. You believe in absolute... That's fiat science. That is not real science, and you're supposed to reject all that stuff. So that's why I'm putting that there. All right, where are you? You are bread-pilled. Yale. What does that mean? Let me go back. There's a lot of comments here. Whoa. Veganism is weird. If you don't eat meat, I'm suspect. I don't know. I know vegans that are hardcore Bitcoiners into it for the right values and all that, and they just don't think meat is right. They're like, I don't want to kill an animal and eat it. Like, if that's your perspective, fair enough. But they're not sitting around eating, soy. If you're, I think I'm going to say / eat soy. I'm adding that onto the list as well, guys. You can't be a soy chomping, soy drinking NPC. No, you're not a Bitcoiner if you're a soy drinking NPC. Dan Darkpill is veg vegan, so I think this is out. Yeah, I know, and there's other Bitcoin vegans. They are around. But this is the thing, though. I respect vegans because they've actually put some thought into their diet, usually. I don't mean like 20-year-old idiot vegans that, are eating Beyond Meat and all this absolute garbage. I mean like people that have decided they don't want to eat meat for whatever reason, and for a good reason at least, and they've healthily come up with stuff that is a good alternative, and those people do exist. I think that carnivory and vegans have a lot in common, even though just psychologically I think they have a lot in common because they've put some thought into their food and they've decided to think for themselves on it. Some vegans anyway. Like, I think that there's people that are vegans that have just listened to a lot of propaganda, and that's stupid. But I think there are vegans that have, like, traditionally, if you were a vegan, like, you had to put a lot of thought into what your next meal is. It's complicated, and you have to plan stuff. And the same with carnivory. If you're a carnivore and you go to eat a meal with people, you've got to really think about what you're going to eat. Same if you're a vegan. 99% of people, though, don't. They just go and order a burger and fries. Like, I'd say that it goes full circle. That vegans and carnivores actually have something in common, which is they've actually mindful with their diet, which most people aren't. So, fair enough. Like, you don't get a lot of people with heart disease that are vegans. The people with heart disease and diabetes and all that stuff aren't carnivores or vegans. They're just lazy people that are just not paying any attention to what goes in their body. That's the truth. So, I think I'm happy with how I got that written here. So you don't care about the carnivory thing, but we have local beef and focus mostly on beef or meat diet. Yeah, that's good. Like, I'm not a carnivore, guys. I eat absolute trash because my theory is actually you can eat whatever the fuck you want as long as it's not actively poisonous, and as long as you actually burn it off and do some exercise. I think diet is actually quite unimportant. if you live an active lifestyle. It's just no one does. So then we have to micromanage everything down to this tiny, minute scale because people are just so unhealthy because of their lifestyle that it gets exacerbated massively by poor diet. Whereas if people were running around playing football outside all day like kids forever, they could live on cheese puffs or whatever. Like your body would handle the rest pretty much. I actually think that. But if you want to sit in front of a laptop all day, like 99% of us do, then it's different. Then you actually need to be very careful about what you eat. You agree? I don't know what you agree with. As Matt is but Matt. I don't like Matt at all. Matt's a fucking NPC. I shouldn't trash him so publicly, but I don't. Matt, I'm adding it. You're not a Bitcoiner if you have blue hair. There you go. I'm adding it. That's a shout out to Matt Corallo. I know most people would disagree and think he is a Bitcoiner. Whatever. It's blonde now, I think. I think it was blonde when I saw him in Miami. You agree? Bread is life. Bread is life. Good bread. I had some good bread in Dubai. It was like this bread where they crack an egg yolk, and spread it over the bread. It's a bit like garlic. Like I can't remember the name of it. It was like this Syrian kind of bread style. It's kind of crunchy. It was almost like a croissant. Oh, dude, that was incredible. I'm not saying you can't have fun and eat sugar and stuff. I just think I think carnivory is too far. So I'm gonna actually put carnivory if you aren't a carnivore. I'm putting that in the don't agree list. You don't have to be a carnivore to be a Bitcoiner, but you do have to reject conventional. This is it. I'm very happy with how that broke down. You are fully bread-pilled. God, you love breads. I know they aren't good for you, though. Bread's awful. Fruits keep things moving out the back end. I eat a good bit of various fruits. I believe in fruit. Fruit, I think, is the second most important food after meat. I think it's really good. It's good, quick energy. I think it wants to be eaten. I think vegetables don't want to be eaten. I agree again with Seyfedin's theory here. I agree with Seyfedin's theory that nothing wants to be eaten, or usually things don't want to be eaten. Animals don't have natural pesticides in the meat because they can bite you if you try and kill them and eat them. But plants don't have that, so plants have very weird chemical things to make you not want to eat them, and hence all these negative reactions. Hello, we've got a baby now. No, I'm not done yet, but I'm nearly done.
Almost?
Yes. We were? I didn't realize we had a time set. All right, well, I've got to go soon, guys. Uh-oh, busted on the fruits. Yeah. Hello. It's baby time, people. That was graphic. Something else I said was graphic. Fruit is like dessert, nature's dessert. Even though I guess... All right, I'll be out in 5 minutes, babe. Even though I guess it's artificially bred. Yeah, like bread is... There's bread and there's bread, right? There's good, powerful bread. You eat more cheese than anything. I don't think cheese is healthy. I eat it. But dairy's its own thing, right? I do a lot better when I don't eat dairy. I think carnivores should... If you're being puritanical about it, I don't think dairy counts. But actually, I know Untapped Growth would slap me for saying that because he drinks raw milk, and it's a different story when you eat raw dairy. Like the shit in supermarkets just doesn't count. So cheese makes mucus but is yummy. Cheese plate with honey, some sweet. Honey's good. Honey is totally carnivorous as well. Honey's fine. It's very sugary though, so it's not keto. But keto and, that's another debate. Best diet is very much related to culture and geography, different for everyone. Soy is crap, no soy. Yeah, your kids are the best thing from life. Yeah, that was my little daughter Poppy. All right, I think we've done it all. Yeah, we've done every single thing here except have 2 passports. I don't have 2 passports, but out of respect to people that see that, have or are trying to acquire a second passport. I think, that's a good mission to have, is getting some sort of extra citizenship, some backup citizenship somewhere. That would be huge. I don't have it, but I should have it. So this is the final list. You are not a Bitcoiner if you haven't used Lightning Network, or at least excited about it. If you don't take custody of your Bitcoin, if you don't understand that blockchain doesn't equal immutability, if you have an exit strategy, I'm leaving that one in, even though, like, yeah, if you're going to sell a little bit of it to get out of debt in a few years, that doesn't count. You're not a Bitcoiner if you don't love guns. Fact. You're not a Bitcoiner if you own a house. I own a house, but I still think it's true. You're not a Bitcoiner if you aren't on zero. You're not a Bitcoiner if you don't mention Bitcoin to people who have no idea about it. You're not a Bitcoiner if you're okay with hard forking, with one obvious exception, the Unix time bug. Yep, in today's context, I agree with that. You aren't a Bitcoiner if you believe that might is right or violence is the answer. You aren't a Bitcoiner if you don't have a non-KYC stash. Very happy with that. You aren't a Bitcoiner if you shitcoin doesn't include stable coins. Yep, totally. That's a no-brainer. You aren't a shitcoiner if you day trade. Sorry if you do, and respect to you if you make money doing it, but I don't think it's the way. I don't think it's the Bitcoiny way. I think it's a misallocation of your time and resources to spend all that time looking at 5-minute, 15-minute charts. No way. You haven't traded a hashboard for ammo. I think day trading is high time preference. That's why I'm writing that one off. You haven't traded a hashboard for ammo. That's just fun. I'm just saying that one for lols. If you voted for Joe Biden, yeah, I'm leaving that one there. Sorry. If you use sunblock sunscreen, I'm leaving that one there too. You aren't a Bitcoiner if your girlfriend doesn't know what Bitcoin is. Yep, absolutely. You aren't a Bitcoiner if you don't reject conventional dietary wisdom, food pyramid, eat soy. Yep. You aren't a Bitcoiner if you have blue hair. I'm being silly with that one, but I'm leaving it. And you aren't a Bitcoiner if you have... you're not a Bitcoiner if you... you don't have or aren't trying to acquire a second passport. That's the final list, and here's the ones I learned I don't agree with. You aren't a Bitcoiner if you believe in AGW. You aren't a Bitcoiner if you are vaccinated against COVID. You aren't a Bitcoiner if you aren't a carnivore. You aren't a Bitcoiner if you don't mention Bitcoin to people who have no idea about it. This is actually the smart thing to do. I'm gonna post this all on Twitter. There we go. That's the final list, guys, and I better go before I run out of goodwill here with the girlfriend. So thanks for watching. Thanks for joining in. That was a great fun. Sunscreen is a shitcoin, and my first live stream with you since finding you on Tome streams recently. Really enjoyed your point of view. Thank you. Thanks, Crypto Cotter. I'm glad to have you here. I'm really glad you enjoyed it. I'll do more. I don't do that many, but I just had a bit of inspiration for that one today. So let's just go back to just camera. Let's go back here. There we go. I can delete that now. There we go. Thanks a lot for watching. That was great fun. I had a good fun time. Let me know if you got some other ideas for stuff. Congrats to anyone that watched this non-live. You can leave a comment. I usually get back to people. I pay close attention to this channel, and subscribe if you're watching and you haven't subscribed, because I'm almost at 1,000, and at 1,000 I get freedom on YouTube that I don't currently have, and I can even monetize stuff, which will help motivate me too. So anyway, I'm gonna bounce. I got to head off, do some family stuff. Boxing Day after all. I'm gonna go see my brother-in-law, his kids. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'm gonna end it there. I'll see you soon. Peace.